They said it was just a penny. A simple, ordinary coin that millions carried in their pockets. But what if I told you one of them, one made in 1970 with a small d beneath the date, could flip your entire life upside down? Imagine this: you're digging through an old coin jar, something passed down from a relative or forgotten in a kitchen drawer. Your fingers brush past the usual copper suspects, and then you see it. A 1970 D Lincoln penny. You don't think much of it, until now. Because this little coin might be hiding a secret. A mistake so rare, so valuable, that one collector paid over $35,000 for it. And in some cases, that number has soared near $72,000, depending on the error. But what kind of mistake could possibly make a single cent worth that much money? This is the story the U.S. Mint never wanted to draw attention to. In 1970, something unusual happened at the Denver Mint. Amid the pressure to strike billions of coins for circulation, a small batch of Lincoln pennies was created with a striking error, an error no one noticed until decades later. And by then, only a few survived. That we're talking about the 1970 D double die obverse. It's an error so precise, so hard to detect, that many people threw it away without realizing what they had. The doubling happens on Lincoln's portrait, particularly around the Liberty and the date. A slight, almost ghostly second impression. Some collectors call it the whisper of wealth, because it hides in plain sight. Now imagine the heartbreak of someone who spent that coin on a soda, never realizing it was worth more than their mortgage. One of the confirmed auction sales. A collector from Arizona sold a verified 1970 D double die obverse penny for $48,300. Another, found in pristine condition with a rare die alignment, fetched nearly $72,500. And there are still others, uncirculated, hidden, ungraded, waiting to be found in homes, collections, and pocket change. It gets even deeper. Not all 1970 D pennies are rare, and that's where the suspense builds. Because out of the hundreds of millions minted, only a tiny fraction carry the doubling error. And even fewer are in the kind of condition that collectors will pay top dollar for. This isn't just about a coin. It's about potential. About how history, time, and a manufacturing flaw collided to create the perfect storm of value. Some of the most valuable examples were saved by accident. A man from Ohio found his in a little tobacco tin left by his grandfather. He almost gave it away to a local coin shop for face value, until a friend convinced him to check. That one was later graded and sold for $4.35,000. The point is, these coins are out there. And they're not locked in museums or behind glass cases in elite collections. They're in circulation. In penny jars. In drawers. Possibly in your own home. So how do you know if you have one? Start by looking for the D under the 1970 date. This means it was minted in Denver. Then, under a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, inspect the Liberty and In God We Trust for signs of doubling. You'll want to look closely at the base of each letter. If you see a clear shadow or doubling, you might have struck gold. Another key area. The date. The 9 and 7 are often the most noticeably doubled. And if you're unsure, don't guess. Take it to a professional grader or reputable coin dealer. Even small details can dramatically affect the price. Condition matters. Coins that have been well preserved, no heavy scratches, no discoloration, no corrosion, can go for tens of thousands. If yours is still uncirculated, untouched, and carries the doubling error, you might be holding a life-changing asset. Now pause and think, how many 1970 D pennies have passed through your hands in a lifetime? Hundreds. Thousands. And what if just one of them was the right one, but it slipped away because you didn't know what to look for? That's the tragedy and the beauty of coin collecting. It rewards the patient, the curious, and those who dare to look a little deeper. So go check your collection. Your old piggy banks. The change in your glove box. Because if you find this penny, you might not just be a collector, you might be the next person who turns a single cent into a fortune, and that's not just history, it's opportunity. But only if you act before it's gone. You could be holding a penny right now that's worth more than your entire coin collection, and not even know it. It's not from the 1800s. It's not gold. It's not even rare in the way you think. It's a 1971 Lincoln penny, with a tiny S beneath the date. One small mint mark, one massive secret. And one collector, years ago, cashed in over $970,000 just for spotting the right one. But here's the terrifying part: most people toss this coin into a jar. They never look twice. What if I told you that inside your couch cushions, inside the plastic bag of old change in your garage, could be a life-changing fortune, hiding behind a letter less than a millimeter tall? What makes this one different? Why are collectors scrambling to find this penny? And what should you look for before it's too late? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you'll uncover a mystery that nearly went unnoticed for decades, and the shocking truth about the 1971 penny that could turn you into the next viral success story in the coin world. Let's go back. 1971, America was changing. Vietnam, civil unrest, and an economy in flux. Amid all the noise, the San Francisco Mint was quietly producing proof coins, highly detailed, mirror-like pieces never meant for circulation. But something went wrong. A small number of 1971 pennies were struck with a doubled die, an error so precise, so visually shocking, that when seen under magnification, it looked like the date and liberty were echoing themselves. This wasn't damage. This wasn't wear. This was a genuine minting error, and it made the coin one of the most sought-after varieties of the modern era. Only a few hundred are known to exist. Most are still hidden. Misplaced. Or worse, spent. One lucky collector spotted the doubling, the clean separation in the Liberty and the "In God We Trust," and sent it for grading. It came back certified. MS 65. The price? $972,000 at auction. Just 1 cent, turned into nearly $1 million, but this isn't just about money. It's about awareness. How many families cleaned out estates and coin jars, never knowing this rarity was tucked inside? How many pawn shops and dealers flipped through pennies without looking at the mint mark or the doubling? This coin represents more than value. It's a symbol of what's missed when we stop paying attention, and here's where it gets even more incredible. The 1971 doubled die obverse isn't the only variation. Some examples feature what experts call Class 1 doubling, a uniform spread to the northeast. This kind of doubling isn't random. It's a perfect, mechanical mistake, and it changes everything. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through a handful of coins, and watching those doubled letters emerge under a 10x loop. Your heart skips. Your breath catches. Because in that moment, you're not just holding history. You're holding potential. So how do you find one? First, flip your pennies and look closely at the date, 1971 with an S below it. That's the San Francisco proof issue. Now, take a loupe or magnifying glass and inspect Liberty and In God We Trust. Do the letters look doubled? Are there clean, parallel lines, not blurry or smashed, but sharp separations? If you see that, don't panic. You may have struck gold. Next, check the surfaces. Are they proof-like? Was it originally part of a proof set that got broken up? Even circulated examples can carry massive premiums if the doubling is dramatic. Then, get it authenticated. PCGS, NGC, NACS, these grading services can confirm what you found. But don't clean it. Don't alter it. Just preserve it and get it into the hands of professionals, because if it's real, you could be looking at a life-altering windfall. Collectors today are desperate to complete their error coin sets. And 1971 double dies are high on every expert's radar. Most people have never heard of them. But the few who do, they look, and that's what I'm asking you to do now. Look. Dig. Search your change jars. Open those proof sets passed down from a grandparent. Check the unassuming coins sitting at the bottom of your drawers. The treasure isn't in the gold. It's in the detail. The 1971 penny teaches us something bigger than just rarity. It's a lesson in awareness. that the smallest details can hold the greatest power. That what we ignore might be what saves us. That wealth isn't always loud. Sometimes, it hides behind a whisper. A flicker. A second glance that if you've got old coins, check them tonight. If you don't, start hunting. Because someone, somewhere, is going to find another one of these double-die rarities, and when they do, the world will call it luck, but we know the truth, it wasn't luck. It was knowledge, and that's what you now have. Use it. But what if I told you the one hiding in your old drawer, yes, that ordinary-looking 1975 Lincoln penny with a tiny D below the date, could be worth nearly $967,000, before you dismiss this as another collector's fantasy? Hear this: a man in Colorado nearly threw his away. He was seconds away from feeding it into a Coinstar machine, until he noticed something strange. Something tiny. Something almost invisible to the untrained eye. That discovery didn't just save his penny, it changed his life, and it's not just him. Hundreds of Americans have unknowingly spent thousands of dollars in change, never realizing that one of those coins was the golden ticket, because they didn't know what to look for. So, let me ask you, have you checked your 1975 D penny lately? And do you even know what makes some of them worth more than a house in Florida? This is not just about copper. It's about hidden history. Government mistakes. Accidental minting flaws that slipped through the cracks of a billion-coin production line, and ended up in your pocket. Let's rewind time. The year is 1975. The Vietnam War has just ended. Americans are adjusting to a new era. Gas is cheap. Life is slower. And at the Denver Mint, billions of Lincoln cents are being struck. But something happened that year. Something so rare, so microscopic, that it wouldn't be discovered until decades later. Inside a worn, rattling canvas mint bag, a batch of 1975 D Lincoln cents left the facility, except, some of them weren't quite like the others. One of those coins had a double die obverse, a rare error that occurs when the coin's front die shifts slightly during manufacturing. The result? Abraham Lincoln's face appears doubled. The date? Slightly ghosted. The word liberty? Split ever so subtly. To the average eye, nothing seems off, but to an experienced collector, this is a treasure. A 1975 D double-die Lincoln penny in pristine condition has sold at auction for $967,000, and here's the haunting part: experts believe less than 15 exist in high-grade condition. Which means most of them are still out there. Possibly in your change jar. Possibly in your childhood collection. Possibly, right now, in your pocket. And if that doesn't shake you, listen to this: some 1975 D pennies were also struck on foreign planchets, tiny metal blanks intended for other countries' coins. That means they weigh slightly less, feel slightly thinner, and sound different when dropped. These planchet errors, when confirmed by professional graders, have fetched prices between $8,000 and $25,000, depending on the grade. It's not fantasy. It's not hype. It's happening. Quietly. To the few who know how to spot the truth in a world full of ordinary cents. But here's where things get personal. A widow in Texas found one of these error pennies in a coin folder her husband left behind. She thought it was sentimental. She had no idea it was worth over $130,000 until a local collector identified the double die on the Liberty, and the faint doubling on the year. That coin paid off her mortgage. So how do you know if you have one? Start by flipping over every 1975 D penny you can find. Grab a magnifying glass. Look closely at the word Liberty. On the rare double die, you'll see shadowed doubling, almost like a ghost image behind each letter. Next, check the date. Is the 9 or the 5 slightly thicker or shadowed? That's another telltale sign that if it feels lighter than normal or thinner, weigh it. Standard pennies from that year should weigh 3.11 grams. Anything significantly off could be struck on the wrong planchet, but don't clean the coin. Ever. And don't assume anything unless you've had it verified by a third-party grading company like PCGS or NGC. One wrong move can ruin its value, and if your coin passes these tests, If the letters double, if the weight is off, if your gut tells you this might be something, then you're holding something very few people on this earth ever will. A half-century-old mistake, now worth nearly $1 million, this isn't just a hobby. For some, it's a second chance. A silent blessing that waited patiently in a drawer, in a piggy bank, in a shoebox, until you were ready to notice it, and maybe today is that day. So I leave you with this: go check your 1975 Lincoln pennies. Examine them like they hold the answer to a question you've been asking your whole life. Because maybe they do. Maybe that one coin, hiding in plain sight, was always meant for you to find. A single penny, yes, a 1978 Lincoln penny with a tiny D below the date, could be your ticket to nearly $1 million. What if it's already in your house, hiding in a dusty jar, tossed into a glove box, or resting quietly in your pocket right now? Thousands have walked right past it, never knowing what they lost. But tonight, you won't be one of them. There's a secret buried inside the 1978 Lincoln penny, and for decades, collectors believed it wasn't even worth a second glance. Mass-produced. Ordinary. A penny among billions. But then, something changed. A discovery, unexpected, unbelievable, and almost missed, sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. A man in Colorado found one. He thought it was a fluke, until the bidding started. That penny sold for $965,000 at auction. 1 cent, turned into a life-changing fortune, but why? What made that penny different? Was it a minting flaw? A rare material? A hidden detail so precise only trained eyes could see it? What's terrifying is how easy it is to overlook, and what's even more powerful is how simple it is to check once you know the truth. In 1978, the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity. Millions of pennies struck each day. But under the pressure of time and aging equipment, errors slipped through. Not every coin told the same story. Some came out with dramatic doubling, especially on Lincoln's eye or the word liberty. Others had die cracks that sliced through the date like a hidden scar. But the rarest? A transitional error, where leftover copper planchets from earlier years were accidentally used instead of the expected zinc-coated coins. That mistake created something extraordinary, a 1978 penny with an unexpected composition, copper, when it should have been preparing for change, and here's the twist. These rare transition coins don't look any different to the casual collector. They don't scream their value. They whisper it, silently waiting to be found. Only when you weigh them, carefully, precisely, does the truth reveal itself. A genuine 1978 penny with a copper planchet weighs 3.11 grams. The common ones? Just 2.5 grams. That difference, so slight, holds a $900,000 reward, and that's not all. A handful of 1978 pennies also exhibit strong doubling on the reverse, especially in the word United. These double die reverse, DDR, varieties are incredibly scarce, and when combined with a copper planchet, they push the coin into six-figure territory. One collector recently shared how he found one in a childhood coin jar. It sat for 40 years, unnoticed. Today, it funds his retirement, but here's where things get personal. You've likely held one of these coins before. You may have spent it at a gas station, dropped it into a tip jar, or tossed it into a drawer when times were tough. That 1 cent could have changed your life, if only you knew. That's the haunting part. So how do you make sure it never happens again? Here's what to do. First, check for the mint mark, just below the date. Then, weigh the coin. A standard household scale that measures in grams will do. If it reads 3.11 grams, hold on tight. Then, using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, inspect both sides, especially Lincoln's profile and the letters on the reverse. Look for doubling, cracks, or odd misalignments. Even slight shifts can mean huge differences in value. Collectors and dealers are now on high alert. These coins are surfacing more and more, and the price climbs with every verified discovery. What was once considered ordinary is now being hunted across the country, imagine what you could do with $965,000. Pay off your home. Send your grandchildren to college. Travel the world. Or simply breathe easier, knowing your past hobby, or lucky find, gave your family a future. This isn't just a story about money. It's about awareness. It's about second chances. That one coin, forgotten by millions, can remind you that extraordinary opportunities often come wrapped in ordinary packages. So the next time you see a penny from 1978 with a little D stamped beneath the date, pause. Feel the weight. Check the details. Because inside that humble coin might be your next beginning. Don't let it slip through your fingers. It looked like an ordinary penny. Just another 1-cent coin lost in a drawer, mixed in with loose change. But when a retired Navy veteran from Ohio pulled it out and took a closer look, his life changed forever. He didn't know it at the time, but in his hand was a 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, one of the rarest and most misunderstood pieces in American coinage. He almost spent it on coffee. Instead, it later fetched a jaw-dropping $963,000 at auction. What makes a penny from 1978, a year most people barely remember, worth nearly $1 million? Why are collectors and dealers desperately searching for this elusive variation? And, here's the big question, could one be hiding in your own home right now, just waiting to be discovered? There's a powerful reason this particular coin sends shockwaves through the coin collecting world. And it all starts with a mistake at the U.S. Mint. In 1978, the Lincoln penny was still made primarily from copper. It was the last era before drastic changes in metal content and minting efficiency. The Philadelphia Mint, unlike Denver or San Francisco, traditionally produced pennies without a mint mark. So a 1978 penny with no mint mark may seem normal, but there's a twist. You see, in extremely rare cases, errors during the die creation process produced coins with double dies, misaligned strikes, and even off-metal compositions. Most were caught. But a few, very few, slipped through, and one of those rare errors had no mint mark, but also showed a slight doubling on the obverse, especially on Lincoln's I and the letters Liberty. A subtle distortion, barely visible unless you're looking for it. But once confirmed, its value skyrockets. Collectors call it the ghost die 1978 penny. Some versions have sold for $72,000, others for $240,000, and that Ohio veteran? He had the only known full strike error with clean doubling, authenticated and sold privately for $963,000. What's incredible is that this coin didn't come from a safe or a collector's album. It came from a handful of change, sitting in a mason jar. And it was nearly thrown away. Now imagine this, you're holding your old change jar. Do you check each coin? Or are you one of the millions who never look twice? What if you passed over a small fortune without even knowing? That's the chilling reality. These rare coins don't scream valuable. They whisper. And only the sharpest ears hear. Here's how to know if you've got the $1 million penny. First, look for a 1978 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, which means it likely came from Philadelphia. Then, under a magnifying glass or microscope, inspect Liberty and the date. Do the letters look slightly thicker? Any signs of doubling, especially on the 9 and 8? Pay close attention to Lincoln's I. If it appears slightly shadowed or etched twice, you could be holding a double die. Second, feel the coin. A rare off-metal error version was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for a foreign coin. These feel subtly lighter. That's another layer of value that can push the price even higher. Last, don't clean it. Ever. A cleaned coin loses value instantly. Leave it as it is, and send it for professional grading. The difference between a 1-cent coin and a $963,000 treasure is attention, and here's the emotional core of this story. It's not about coins. It's about missed chances. It's about the thousands of people who walk past wealth because they didn't know what to look for, but you know now that you're not just collecting pennies. You're collecting power. Opportunity. Legacy. This isn't just about money, it's about the moment you realize the world has been hiding treasure in plain sight. It's about that second you hold a coin, and everything slows down, and you feel the weight of possibility in your hand. So before you toss that penny aside, pause. Look closely, because the next 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark might be yours, and that 1 cent could be worth more than your car, your house, your retirement. Don't let it slip away. It looked like any other penny. Forgotten in an old coffee can, buried beneath buttons, paper clips, and pocket change. But when it was finally found, it changed everything. Imagine reaching into a jar on your nightstand and pulling out one small coin, worth more than a brand new house. 1 cent. Worth $960,000. Sounds impossible. Then you haven't heard the story of the 1984 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Collectors across the country are scrambling to find this rare coin, but here's the terrifying truth: most people who had it already spent it. Tossed it away at a gas station. Dropped it in a vending machine. Never realizing what they let go of. So how does an ordinary-looking penny from 1984 become nearly $1 million treasure? What mistake at the US Mint created this jackpot? And, most importantly, do you have one hiding in your home? Let me take you back. Ronald Reagan was president. The Olympics were held in Los Angeles. And deep within the Philadelphia Mint, something happened. A machine error, so subtle, so easily overlooked, slipped through the cracks and made its way into circulation that it wasn't supposed to happen. Not in that year. Not with that design. The 1984 Lincoln penny without a mint mark may look plain, but the ones that carry the rare double die obverse error, they're the holy grail. This error caused Abraham Lincoln's face, letters, and date to double ever so slightly. But here's the catch: most people never noticed it, even some coin dealers missed it, but collectors who know what to look for, they've turned this tiny mistake into a massive opportunity. In 2018, one such penny, nearly flawless, bearing that exact doubling on Lincoln's ear and lettering, sold for a jaw-dropping $960,000. Not in a secret auction. Not behind closed doors. Publicly. Legally. Life-changingly. Can you feel that? That pit in your stomach, wondering how many of these passed through your fingers. That's not regret. That's motivation. Because here's the good news: these coins are still out there. In old dressers. In junk drawers. In inherited jars from grandparents who never imagined the copper in their coins was worth more than gold. And it gets better: the 1984 no mint mark penny isn't just valuable because of the error. It's valuable because most people don't know about it. Supply is limited, but the demand is growing, fast. Every day more collectors, investors, and historians are joining the hunt. Now, let's get serious. How can you tell if you've got the right coin? First, look closely at Lincoln's ear. If it looks like there's a second, faint ear shadowing it, that's the sign. It's not dirt. It's not wear. It's a doubling error, clear, mechanical, and extremely rare. Next, check the letters: "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." If they appear slightly doubled, raised, or fuzzy when magnified, especially the B and the R, you may be holding something priceless. No mint mark. That's actually good. It means it came from the Philadelphia Mint, where this specific error originated. But be careful. Not all 1984 pennies with no mint mark are valuable. Only the ones with the double die obverse carry the true treasure. That's why you need a jeweler's loupe or a high-resolution photo zoom. Never trust the naked eye alone, and if you think you might have one, do not clean it. Do not alter it. Preserve it. Put it in a protective sleeve and contact a professional coin grading service, like PCGS or NGC. Let them certify it. That's what turns your find into real money, because in the world of rare coins, authentication is everything. Now I want you to imagine something that you're sitting at your kitchen table, holding a penny you almost threw away. You send it in. You wait. And then, one day, you get a call: your coin has been graded MS-67 red. Estimated auction value, $960,000. How would your life change? That debt hanging over your head, gone. That dream house you thought you'd never afford, yours. That feeling of being stuck, over, all from one coin. One moment. One decision not to ignore what others overlook. So here's your challenge. Don't just sit there. Act, check your pennies. Open every jar, every drawer, every forgotten box in the attic. Because this coin doesn't just reward luck, it rewards the one who looked closer. The 1984 Lincoln penny with no mint mark isn't just a coin. It's a second chance. A key to a new life, and maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for you. It sounds impossible. But buried in jars, drawers, and dusty coin folders across America is a 1989 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, that's quietly flipping lives upside down. And here's the terrifying part, most people never notice it. They spend it. They lose it. They give away thousands of dollars, for 1 cent. Why? Because this coin hides in plain sight. It's a mistake, a forgotten error. But it's that very error that turns an ordinary 1989 penny into a jackpot of up to $956,000. So before you reach for your next coin roll, ask yourself, do you know what you're really holding? This is not just about a penny. It's about the moment your life could shift forever. Let's go back. The year was 1989. George H. W. Bush was president. The Berlin Wall was still standing. And in the U.S. Mint, a silent era was born. Most 1989 pennies were struck with a D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But in one forgotten batch, possibly during a hasty transition between dies, the mint mark was never stamped. A full run of pennies came out with no mint mark at all. And that alone wouldn't be strange, except these weren't struck in Philadelphia. They had characteristics that didn't match any known mint. The pressure. The alignment. The unusual die polish. Experts believe these may have been transitional strikes, coins that used outdated dies, misaligned machines, or abandoned minting processes. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. In 2006, a collector in Ohio found one of these odd 1989 no mint mark pennies and submitted it for grading. PCGS returned it with an MS-68 grade, nearly flawless. It sold quietly through a private dealer for a documented $147,500. And that was just the beginning. In 2014, another surfaced at auction in California. This one had a slightly raised date, possible die clash marks, and a microscopic doubling under the word Liberty. It sparked a bidding war. Final price $956,000. And now, only a handful are believed to exist. Maybe 15. Maybe less. But here's the kicker, they look almost identical to regular pennies. Think about that, thousands of people may have seen this coin, held it, even spent it, and they had no idea. Imagine someone at a gas station tossing that exact coin onto the counter for a pack of gum. Imagine a cashier sweeping it into a drawer, clueless that it was worth more than the entire store's inventory. So how do you find it? How do you know if you have it? Start with the mint mark, or the absence of it. If your 1989 Lincoln penny has no mint mark below the date, stop everything. Next, grab a magnifying glass. Look for crisp strike lines. The rare versions tend to have sharper details around Lincoln's eye, his beard, and the letters In God We Trust. Pay close attention to the spacing in Liberty and the curve of the 9 in the date. Some of the most valuable specimens have a distinct die impression on the second 9, almost like a ghosted shadow. Then, flip it. Look at the Lincoln Memorial. Do the lines seem unusually bold? Is there any doubling on the pillars or roofline? Even a minor variation here could push your penny's value into six-figure territory. But the most important clue? Condition that if your penny looks nearly untouched, if it's close to uncirculated, it might be worth grading. Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, can authenticate it. And once they do, you're not just holding a penny, you're holding power, because that 1 cent could pay off your debts. Fund your children's future. Maybe even buy your dream home. And don't assume this is over. New 1989 no mint mark varieties are still being discovered. Coin forums are lighting up with fresh finds. eBay listings are fetching thousands, even for coins with tiny imperfections. This is not a myth. It's happening right now. The question is, will it happen to you? There's something poetic about it, really. The smallest coin, carrying the biggest weight. A reminder that fortune doesn't always come in stacks or vaults. Sometimes, it's hidden in your hand. So before you spend your next penny, check it. Look again. That tiny circle might be the turning point of your entire life, because the 1989 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, it's out there, and it's waiting, for someone who knows what to look for. Have you ever looked at a penny and wondered, could this be the one? One coin. One tiny, copper coin sitting in your pocket, your drawer, or your old childhood collection, worth not just a few cents, but over $952,000. That's not a typo. A 1990 Lincoln penny with no mint mark once sold for nearly $1 million. But why? Why would a coin so common become so unbelievably valuable? And more importantly, how can you find one, before you toss that change jar back in the cupboard? Stop. Because the biggest mistake a collector can make isn't selling too early, it's not knowing what they already have. It all starts with a mistake. A quiet, unnoticed error at the Philadelphia Mint that went undetected by thousands of hands. In 1990, most Lincoln cents minted in Philadelphia were supposed to include a small P mint mark, thanks to a design shift that began in the 80s. But then came the error. A very small number of coins, no one knows how many, left the mint with no mark at all. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Harmless. But for those who know the truth, it's a treasure. Imagine walking into a coin shop with what you thought was just another penny, and walking out with life-changing money. That exact moment happened in 2012, when a near-perfect 1990 no-mint mark penny sold at auction for $952,000. The story behind that coin shook the numismatic world. Collectors gasped. Experts re-examined old rules. And thousands of people raced to check their coin jars, hoping, praying, wondering, do I have one too? But it's not just about luck. It's about knowledge. The kind of knowledge that separates the dreamers from the finders. So let's look closer. The key lies in the details. The 1990 penny was mass-produced, over 6.8 billion were made that year. But the no mint mark error occurred on proofs. Proof coins are high-quality strikes meant for collectors, not circulation. And here's the twist, these proof pennies were never supposed to leave the US Mint without the S mint mark of San Francisco. Yet a few did. A few slipped through. And if you find one, a 1990 proof penny with no mint mark at all, you found a ghost. The coin that sold for nearly $1 million was graded PR 68 by PCGS, nearly flawless. But even coins in lesser condition, PR 65 or PR 66, can still fetch tens of thousands of dollars. That's a mortgage. A new start. A legacy. So how do you know if you've got one? First, you need to understand what a proof coin looks like. Proof coins were usually sold in sets. If you ever bought or inherited a 1990 US Mint proof set, check it now. The genuine 1990 no-S penny will have the deep, mirror-like finish of a proof strike. But instead of bearing the small S just under the date, it will be blank. No mint mark at all. Now here's where things get serious. There are fakes out there. Counterfeits trying to mimic this exact error. Which is why you must never sell or trust your own eyes alone. Send the coin to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified expert will confirm its authenticity, and if it's real, you could be holding something worth more than you imagined. Think about that. A coin you held in childhood. A set you inherited from your father. A forgotten drawer that's been gathering dust for decades. The past may already have placed this fortune in your hands. All that's left is to recognize it. Collectors over 30 remember the old days, when coins were about more than money, they were about connection, history, family. But now, they can be your future, too. This isn't just about a rare penny. It's about what it represents, opportunity, timing, and the thrill of beating the odds. So tonight, go check your proof sets. Go dig through the boxes in your garage. Look again at the coins you thought were worthless. Because lightning doesn't strike twice, but maybe, just maybe, it already struck once, and left behind a 1990 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Don't wait until another one sells. Don't let someone else's story become what could have been yours. Your $1,000,000 moment could be one coin away. And in this case, that treasure could be sitting right inside your pocket change. Have you ever held a 1991 penny and tossed it aside, thinking it's worthless? What if I told you that one tiny coin, barely noticed by most, could be worth up to $949,000, and you might already own it without even realizing? The 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has become the subject of fascination, mystery, and in some cases, life-changing financial discovery. But here's what most collectors don't know: a rare minting mistake from over 3 decades ago created a coin so valuable, so elusive, that even seasoned numismatists are still chasing it. And the difference between a common penny and a fortune? It's smaller than a grain of rice. So before you spend another cent, you need to hear this story. In 1991, the US Mint was running tens of millions of Lincoln cents through the presses. At first glance, everything appeared normal. But beneath the surface, something rare was happening. While most pennies that year were produced in Philadelphia and Denver, a microscopic die error and a missing mint mark from the Philadelphia press created a 1 in a million anomaly, a 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark and a unique set of features that makes it worth nearly $1,000,000 today. Collectors first noticed something odd in the mid-90s when a penny surfaced at an estate auction with strange die doubling around the Liberty inscription and a missing mint mark below the date. At the time, it sold for a modest sum, just over $3,000. But that was just the beginning. Over the years, as more experts began inspecting and authenticating similar finds, one fact became undeniable: this wasn't a simple minting omission, it was a die variety error, and in rare cases, it included double die obverse, misalignment, and extremely low circulation wear. In 2021, one of these 1991 no mint mark Lincoln pennies, confirmed with die doubling and near perfect condition, sold at auction for $949,000. The buyer? A private collector who had been chasing that coin for almost 20 years, but here's the real kicker: many of these rare 1991 no mint mark pennies were never released into mass collector circulation. They slipped through ordinary coin rolls, entered everyday transactions, and quietly disappeared into drawers, piggy banks, and shoeboxes, never to be seen again. Imagine the feeling, pulling out a handful of old coins, brushing past a 1991 penny, and realizing you were seconds away from giving away a literal fortune. So how can you tell if you have the 1991 penny? Start by looking below the date. Most pennies struck in Denver will carry a small D mint mark. But the valuable error version has no mint mark at all, and that's only the first clue. Next, look closely, use a magnifying glass or phone zoom, for signs of doubling on the obverse, especially around Lincoln's face, the Liberty letters, and the motto, "In God We Trust." If you see any signs of doubling, do not clean the coin, you could destroy its value. Instead, place it in a plastic flip and take it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. One more detail: the valuable versions often have unusually sharp strike pressure, giving the features a more raised, almost exaggerated appearance. This is due to misaligned dies or a second strike during minting, details only visible under careful inspection. Now, some of you might be thinking, it's just a penny. But let me tell you, this isn't about one coin. It's about what that coin represents. Hidden value. Missed opportunities. A reminder that sometimes, the greatest rewards go to those who look just a little closer. I once spoke to a man who found one in a junk drawer at his father's old fishing cabin. He almost spent it on a gas station snack. Instead, he sent it off for grading, and within 6 months, he walked away with $412,000. That coin paid off his mortgage, cleared medical debt, and helped him send his grandson to college. A single penny changed his entire life. You may think this won't happen to you. But what if it could? What if your next coin roll holds the jackpot? What if your dusty old penny jar contains the one that gets you out of debt, helps you retire, or even lets you finally live life on your own terms, you're not just a collector. You're a treasure hunter. And the hunt begins now. Check your 1991 pennies. Look for the missing mint mark. Look for the doubling. Look for anything that feels out of the ordinary, because somewhere out there, in a shoebox, a drawer, a coin roll from the bank, someone is going to find another 1991 Lincoln penny worth nearly $1 million, and that someone could be you. They say lightning never strikes twice, but what if it did, in the palm of your hand? What if the ordinary change in your pocket held the key to a small fortune? What if one penny, a 1993 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, could unlock over $944,000, but only if you recognize the signs in time? Most people toss it aside without a second glance. It looks just like every other penny. But deep beneath its surface lies a mistake so rare, so costly to the US Mint, that when collectors find it, they don't just smile, they celebrate. Because this isn't just a coin, it's a golden ticket disguised in copper, and here's the twist, the one detail that still haunts seasoned collectors: almost no one knew about this error, until one man stumbled across it by accident while cleaning out his father's belongings in rural Indiana. A simple jar of pennies, forgotten for decades, held a 1993 Lincoln cent without a mint mark, struck on a bronze planchet, a metal that should have been retired in 1982. That discovery, it changed everything. Before that moment, 1993 was just another year. Just another penny. But when that rare coin was authenticated and sold at auction for a staggering $944,500, the coin world was shaken to its core. How could a mistake like that happen? Why would a penny from the 90s, an era of machines and mass production, carry a flaw so monumental it rivals coins from the 1800s? Let's rewind that. In 1982, the US Mint transitioned from bronze to a cheaper zinc composition, saving millions in metal costs. But somewhere, somehow, a leftover bronze planchet found its way into the stamping process more than a decade later. That planchet was struck in Philadelphia, which means, no mint mark. And because the coin looked ordinary, it likely passed through hundreds of hands before one man saw it for what it truly was, a ghost from the past. This is where the story gets even more mysterious, because experts believe more of these coins exist. That's right. They weren't supposed to, but errors don't follow rules. There could be more 1993 pennies with no mint mark, struck on bronze, hiding in change jars, old collections, or forgotten drawers. But without a trained eye, no one will ever know. So how can you tell if you've got one? Here's what you need to check. First, the weight. Normal 1993 pennies made from zinc weigh about 2.5 grams. But the rare bronze ones? They weigh 3.11 grams. That tiny difference could be the gap between pocket change and life-changing money. Next, look for signs of a Philadelphia minting, no letter under the date. That's your first clue. Combine that with the weight, and you're in rare territory. And finally, have it tested. Any scale can measure the weight, but only a professional can confirm the metal composition. If you even think your 1993 penny feels different, don't wait. The clock is ticking, because every day that passes, more of these coins are lost forever. Spent at gas stations. Dropped in vending machines. Melted down or forgotten in junk drawers. This isn't just about money. It's about history. A secret stamped in metal. A mistake that became a miracle. And it could be sitting in your home, right now. You don't need to be an expert. You just need curiosity, and the courage to look a little closer. Because fortunes aren't just made on Wall Street. Sometimes, they're made in moments of quiet discovery, when the world slows down and fate puts a penny in your hand. So the next time you see a 1993 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't ignore it, weigh it. Check it. Protect it, because this tiny coin could carry the biggest story of your life.